What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us every Thursday for a discussion about the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals alongside Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I'm your host, Alex Van Aken, and today I'm joined by Kyle Hilliard. What's up, Kyle?
Hello. How's it going?
How are you? I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm starting to get exhausted with all the year-end discussions.
I am too.
I mean, I'm doing the us and min-max, so I'm like,
oh yeah,
overloaded.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I like it though. I do. I know it sounds like I don't, but I do enjoy the conversations. It's fun.
Secretly, I think you should try to get the list to be the exact same for both companies. See if you can do a little challenge.
Maybe, and then just email some people at GameSpot and be like, I still get a vote here, right? For my 6 months of employment. I get something here, right?
Exactly.
If Elden Ring wins everyone's, not saying that that's what it's going to be. I'm saying that's my personal one. If it's all over the place, it was me secretly doing this.
Yeah, pulling the strings.
Right.
That voice you heard a second ago was Marcus Stewart. Hey, Marcus.
Yeah, I remember you hadn't introduced me yet, and I was like, whoopsie. Now I spoiled my
you're allowed to speak. You can speak.
Can I speak now?
If you want to.
It's okay. Okay. Hi. I just wanted to make sure. I don't want to step on any toes or fingers or legs, arms.
Yeah.
Body.
Please don't step on my appendages.
Yes.
Thank you.
Your appendix is fine, though.
Yeah. For sure. That's inside, so it's safe,
Yeah.
Cool. Also, rounding us out, we've got Charles Hart, Chuck Duck himself.
Hello. I'm here. My big web feet.
Can I call you Chuck Duck?
Please do.
Okay.
My big web feet are going to step on everyone's toes, but they're kind of like light little duck's feet, so it won't be. I've never had my toe stepped on by a duck, but I imagine it doesn't hurt as bad as like a big person.
So you like ducks?
You want to know the truth? There is, I actually feel very indifferent about ducks. It just rhymes with Chuck, which is also not really my name. I made up a rapper name for myself when I was in 7th grade, and it was MC Chuck Duck Bad Luck Pickup Truck the Third, and then Chuck Duck 365 was kind of a condensation of that.
Is that a Disney 365 reference? Have I asked you that before?
You haven't. It is a reference in that it's the number of days in a year, but
okay, I've heard that.
So you're always Chuck Duck every day of the year.
I'm always throwing ducks is the thing. Is they just keep coming to me.
How
I gotta
much
get them away.
duck?
There's a lot of lore here.
Chuck Chuck. If a Chuck Duck could Chuck Duck. Okay.
Yep. Great. This is a show about video games, not ducks. But if you're a duck lover out there in the audience, you're welcome too. Today, it's the week after the Game Awards. It's the week after the Bill Clinton kid rattled everyone. It's been a quiet week, I feel like, following the Game Awards. But I feel like, personally, and it sounds like Kyle, you can resonate with this, I just feel overwhelmed with all the games that I'm like trying to touch and finish or like learn about because I need to have like an opinion on it. Or
I can literally count the hours available to me that I need to check out Immortality.
Yeah. I've got like How Long to Beat like permanently on my Google Chrome. They should have like a plugin where like if you're searching for a game on a storefront, there's like a plugin for the How Long to Beat.
Yeah, the Xbox app has that now.
Yeah, they've integrated it recently.
That's awesome.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't put Xenoblade Chronicles 3 in there. Just start playing it to generate your opinion.
Yeah.
Don't find out.
Oh, that's scary. So yeah, a lot of this show is going to be focused on those games that we've been playing. So you can probably expect games like, Callisto just came out recently. I think Mark's is going to talk about that. I've been playing Vampire Survivors and Immortality recently. I think Charles and myself both have been playing a lot of Fortnite. But first, Marcus, you reviewed, I would say, the game of the week, High on Life. It's a game that I was looking forward to playing. I came away from my preview more positive than I expected. I played it at Gamescom. But you have played and beaten the full game. How is it?
I don't think it's all that great, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay. Bummer.
Yes, my review is up on the website right now. Spoiler, I gave it a 5.75 out of 10. And yeah, like you, Alex, I don't know if I was excited, but I was definitely interested in this game because I like shooters, I like stupid, dumb comedy, and I like games that are just weird and they just go for stuff. And so, and I will establish up front, all right, Justin Roiland, co-creator of Rick and Morty, who made this game. I'm kind of indifferent to his work, mainly because I've not really seen a ton of Rick and Morty or any of his other stuff. I'm kind of like Justin Roiland, oblivious or neutral is probably the better word.
What are your thoughts on Pickle Rick?
I've only heard that by name. I don't even know what that is.
You're lucky.
Okay, I know
that's all I'll say.
Szechuan sauce is a thing.
Okay, yeah, that was a thing.
I remember people were going to burn down McDonald's to get some years ago.
Was that a pandemic thing?
Not that
that was pre.
I'm not a big Rick and Morty fan by any means. I've enjoyed what I've watched, but it's funny that those are the things that float to the surface is like the worst elements of the fandom. Like that Pickle Rick episode is really interesting and about avoiding the emotional turmoil of dealing with family issues and stuff. But like the thing that everyone takes away from it is Pickle Rick.
I don't even know if I've seen the episode in question. It's just that's what I hear.
Yeah,
that's what people talk about.
So that's how it happens.
That's what's in the Fortnite shop, along with
exactly.
Mr. Meeseeks.
See, I didn't even realize.
I have seen that episode.
See, like that's a whole thing. I'm oblivious to it, and I say all this to say like I have nothing. I don't have an axe to grind with Justin Roiland. I was open. I'm like, yeah, bring it in. Again, I like stupid dumb comedy. This game is definitely stupid dumb comedy. It's silly. It's absurd. It is every adjective you could think of for just, man, this is really over the top and also very adult, you know. But in terms of the comedy of it, it just didn't click with me personally. Real quick, just to establish the premise of this game, you play as this human teenager who, after aliens invade Earth and enslave everybody, you get roped into becoming this space bounty hunter, and you fight this alien sort of like cartel using these talking guns. One of them voiced by Roiland himself, and from what I understand, is he basically doing the Morty voice for this gun? Is it like in the ballpark of kind of the same performance of the like,
really?
Oh my God, I don't believe it, and oh my God, you shot that guy, and oh, that guy's dead. He's no longer alive. Oh, he's deceased
close,
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
really
okay.
originated from Disney Channel's Fish Hooks when he played Milo the fish. Is really the first instance. Not to go too deep in the Justin Roiland.
Is this real?
I'm 100% serious. He voiced a character in Fish Hooks way before. He does that voice a lot. Is the point?
So it is a Disney 365 reference.
Best known as Morty. But yes, Marcus, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, okay. I was like, I almost wondered if like I've never heard him in interviews, but I was like, what if that was like his real life?
It's definitely not.
But yeah,
Charles spoke with him. He knows.
that's true. But yeah, so with that performance, there are other comedians that voice the gun, like JB Smoove is in there, and as a game, it's just sort of a first-person shooter. It's got some platforming elements. It's got some light Metroidvania elements as you're exploring this very, very small selection of worlds, just kind of like big open spaces and just mowing down aliens. And I think across the board, I just found the game to just be very underwhelming. I think the combat feels just passable to kind of, maybe not bad, but just sort of like rough, I guess. Like the guns don't feel that satisfying. Each of them have like an alternate firing mode. So they, in addition to shooting their standard rounds, they each have sort of their own unique ability. I mentioned in my review, my favorite was Gus, which is the JD Smoove gun. It is essentially a shotgun, but it shoots this like disc that you can kind of bat around the environment manually by meleeing it. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea. There's another gun you get later on that can slow time by shooting this sort of like time bubble. And it's like, okay, there's some cool ideas here. And it is interesting to sort of mix up those abilities. But for one, the gun selection that you get is very small. It's smaller than I thought it would be, honestly, because I think it's only like 4. And which is weird, because on the weapon wheel, it looks like there's going to be double that. But I was like, oh no, I guess this is just it. Okay. And then the enemy variety is also very limited, where you're kind of fighting the same like 5 enemy types of these like Monsters Inc. hazmat looking dudes, just left and right. And it's just the combat plateaus after you get the last weapon, and it's just kind of the encounters just start feeling the same, and then kind of start feeling like a chore. Some of the enemies feel a little more bullet spongy than I would like, and even some of the weapons don't feel as powerful as I would like, or even like kind of inconsistent. Like I've noticed with the shotgun, it'd be like, oh, I'm blasting this guy in like one hit, but then I'll go to another guy or like of the same enemy type and it'll take like 2 hits. And I'm like, seems like we're in the same range. I don't know what's going on there. It's like, maybe it's just me, but I don't know. I'm seeing it a lot. And yeah, just and the boss fights too, I was very unhappy with. Like, there was that first boss fight that came out of Gamescom, which is like,
yeah, with the grappling hook.
Yeah.
I played that one. Is that the first one in the game as well?
That is the first one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that one played as bad as I thought it looked at the time, where it's like, okay, like, because you can swing around on stuff with this talking knife that you have. And I was like, this just feels okay, but still just not great. And the bosses just, again, feel like spongy and just not good. And some of the enemies throw a little too much at you, where it feels like they're throwing more at you than you're capable of, like, dodging. Like, there's a couple of bosses that do like bullet hell style attacks. They're like, okay, this is like way too fast. And I was like, I don't think I have the maneuverability to really deal with this in an effective way, or I feel like I'm just eating stuff and, it just doesn't feel great. So that, on top of the comedy, which again, as people have been very kind to remind me, comedy is subjective, it turns out.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it turns out that we all have different opinions on what we like in humor and all that good stuff. I will say, for my taste, and again, I'm not some like bourgeois, like stuck up, like I'm a very sophisticated. I like my comedy.
No, but you are better than us.
Yes, I thought I made that clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made that clear in the review. Yeah,
that's your lead.
Yeah.
It's a weird way to introduce the review, the first paragraph, but it's relevant to the rest of the
Yes,
review.
my taste is better than you. That's what I wrote. Yeah, it just didn't click with me, and I think a lot of it is that the jokes they don't really have punchlines. They're just kind of people rambling on and on about one specific bit, and then just really running that bit into the ground of like, oh, I'm the guy that sells the weird, like, alien juice that may have come out of my genitals, and yep, that's my thing. Hey, isn't it funny that this is what I do? And yeah, you can buy this. Isn't that weird? You're gonna buy it, right? Oh man, you're like, okay, is this gonna like lead to something? And then it doesn't. And yeah, I don't know. There's so much of that, and every character is that. It would be better if maybe only a few characters that was like their thing, but it's like literally every single person you meet is just that. And so not only does it become annoying, but then everyone just kind of bleeds together of like, oh, is every person you meet in this game just sort of this like weird, kind of like sleazy, gross, vulgar dude, basically? And that's like, and you're like, well, is that like the only kind of humor this game offers? And again, I'm not opposed to that. It's just that if that's the only thing, I just wish it was better, And even the sort of meta commentary on game, like there's a lot of fourth wall breaky stuff about basically everything, but especially like the game industry of, the gun will call out like, hey, this thing that you're doing, oh, I can't believe we're doing this like every other video game, huh? And stuff like that.
I will say, from the hour or two I played, that kind of stuff I do like, which they did in Trover as well. Like an early gag is like you get, your heads up display and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's unlicensed. Like you don't have the license for it, so it just keeps throwing pop-ups at you as you're trying to like walk to the shop and like acquire the license, so you're not using the knockoff version of the software. And like the little tutorial guy comes up and he's like, "Hey, do you still want help from me? Because like you better tell me to leave now because I'm gonna talk to you a lot if you don't want me around. I'm the tutorial guy." And like I like that kind of stuff. Like that stuff I think is funny. Like the comedy writers, the people who wrote it, clearly play a lot of video games, but it sounds like that's maybe sort of front loaded from hearing you talk about the game.
Yeah, and you know what, Kyle, that is actually, I think, one of the better bits in that.
Yeah, right, yeah, like maybe I've already seen the best joke. I don't know,
Yeah, but I think the other stuff, I think my biggest issue is like if you're gonna make fun of a game mechanic for being sort of like old hat or like, oh, we know what this is all about, but then not actually do anything to change it up. Because I would get excited. Like there's like these pipe puzzles where like they call out like, oh, we've seen these basic video game pipe puzzles. So I'm like, oh, they're going to do something really wild with it, right? And it's like, no, you're doing this kind of tedious thing where you're trying to build a path and, a pipe puzzle. And you're like, that's it? Like, was the big twist was just being told that this is stupid, but you telling me that it's bad doesn't make it fun suddenly.
You're still doing
You're still doing
like
it.
having to do the puzzle.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that in this game. There's one, maybe the worst offender was there's a NPC who I guess is supposed to be a reference to like annoying NPCs like a Navi and Ocarina of Time, who is like buzzing around your character, just sort of orbiting you constantly for a period, and is just talking nonstop about like their life and stuff. They're like, oh yeah, I'm this guy, and I get the joke, you know, like, okay, this guy isn't supposed to shut up, and like, you know, your guns are telling you like, oh, this guy's so annoying, but then he stays with you long enough where you're like, no, this actually is really annoying. And what's worse is that since he's spinning around you, he actually gets in the way of like, I'm trying to jump to something, and he like blocks you. So like I died a couple times because of him.
As somebody who doesn't have to play the game, that sounds hilarious. As somebody who has played the game, it sounds like it's infuriating.
Yeah, it sounds like it'd be funny if you were watching it, right? Like, but then when you're like, no, this is getting in the way of me trying to have fun with the gameplay. Yeah. And again, it's like, okay, saying that it's a joke doesn't mean that it's funny. And I think this game has a lot of that. Again, I'm totally fine admitting that maybe that style of humor just isn't for me. I will say that I watched a couple of episodes of Rick and Morty for the first time before this, just to sort of like get my feet wet, and I thought those were funnier than this. But I think it's also the thing of where, much like horror games, I think comedy is hard to do in video games, especially because games are longer, and the longer you kind of have to stretch out a joke, the more likely
versus like a 20-minute episode of a show.
Yeah, like, you know, when you have 30 minutes, 20 minutes, it can be punchier and get to the point, and it just kind of hits harder. Whereas like for like a 10-hour game, if you're going to keep doing the same stuff, it's just probably going to fall apart at a certain point unless you do it really exceptionally. And again, there were some bits in this game that I did enjoy. Like there was some stuff that I saw, I was like, okay, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, like they licensed an entire movie
four
movies to just have in the game. Like you could just, it's just on TV and you can watch it and you can go to the movies and there'll be like MST 3000 style like commentary on like full movies.
Yeah, that like, the MST stuff, that was one of the ones where I was like, okay, this is, because it's like there's no real punchline, but this is so ambitious in how dumb it is that it's funny. And
it's like one of those things like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we had 4 full-length movies in this movie that players could sit around and watch? And then it's like, well, I mean, yes, but in the reality of the player sitting there, not moving and staring at a screen, it's like, I don't know if that's like compelling, but it is funny.
Yeah.
Like it's a funny thing that you guys did.
And I think maybe the gameplay kind of suffers from like, it maybe is a little too focused on being over the top, that the actual like mechanics are just sort of like okay at best. And when you kind of have like 2 mediocre offerings, it just, for me, just sort of combined to an experience that's like, okay, this just isn't the most satisfying thing. There are glimmers of like potential here. I think the idea of like, again, the guns and the alternate firing modes and some of the strategy that could come from that could be cool if there were more interesting enemies to use them on, and the encounters didn't feel like work. And yeah, it just kind of fell flat for me, which is mad because I didn't want it to. Like that's what frustrated me most, of like, this should be a lot more fun than it is for me.
Do you think that I'm just sitting here thinking about you talking about like, Justin Roiland's humor on TV versus in games. I wonder if Squanch Games could capitalize on like an episodic nature to like releasing games where like they develop a set of characters that like people really, that have a lot of potential, and then almost like a TV show where like you just throw them into different situations. You could throw them into different genres even. I know that's like that's biting off a lot in terms of project scope. But even like, let's say it follows the High on Life model where it's like, okay, this episode is 45 minutes long, maybe an hour. You've played, you've played other episodes, so you know how the mechanics work. We don't have to like introduce you to that stuff. And you just like get to experience these characters going to a different planet for this episode. And you play through it, and then, 3 months later, a new episode drops. And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be
versus just like you said, like a 10-hour game.
Yeah, and again, 10 hours isn't like super long, and I think it should be short. I'm an advocate for humor, and horror games should be on the shorter end. That's why I didn't really care that Callisto Protocol was as short as it is. I was like, it's probably for the best just to keep it scary. But yeah, I just wish it was just more interesting to play across the board. It just feels very shallow in general.
I wonder if the problem, I mean, I'm not gonna like armchair expert like comedy, but like there's really in Trover as well, Trover Saves the Universe, I feel like that there's no straight man really, right? Like the player is the silent protagonist who I guess is supposed to be the stand-in, right, for the straight man, but like really everyone you meet is like comic relief. And I think if there were just one or two like consistent characters that were just kind of normal, I wonder if that would like make it easier to swallow the pill, because like your sister is in the game and she's pretty normal, but she's still comedic too. Like she's still kind of a goofball as well most of the time.
She becomes a bigger goofball as the game goes on. Like there's a whole arc with her that just goes off the rails. So even she kind of like, falls in the line. But that kind of goes back to what I said before. Like everyone just kind of feels like slight variations of the same joke.
Are you supposed to be the straight man? Like you as the player?
I mean, in the sense that you don't talk. That's about it. Like there are some like dialogue choices that you make that seem pretty slight, but even in those you have the option to be ridiculous. Like there's some answers where you can, if you want to just be like a jerk or just a weirdo, I guess you can kind of like get on the train with everyone else and be like, I'm gonna be as wacky as everyone else is. But yeah, I think the game just needs more. It just needs more variety in the sort of characters and the kind of humor, because then they can play off of each other better instead of having everyone basically scream at you for 5 minutes about how weird and funny they are.
Can I ask, Marcus, which episodes of Rick and Morty you watched? I'm just curious what the ones you went to first were.
I know they were recent because when I checked, I was at my parents' place doing some dog sitting, and I checked their guide to be like, oh, when did this come out? And they both said 2022. So I guess there's like a new season right now. But there's one where Rick was a superhero. Like they made the dad a superhero. And
the Pissmaster?
Yeah. And I was like, the Pissmaster. He was like going to therapy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that made me like chuckle a few times. Like, oh, this is actually kind of funny. And then the other one, I don't even remember what it's about. I just remember Jesus was in it.
That's I'm all up to date on Rick and Morty. That episode's called Full Meta Jack Rick.
Yeah, they did make a lot
really,
of like meta.
Really meta. Yeah. I don't like those episodes as much, but I don't think that's really the point. I was just wondering if someone was like, oh, I had to watch 2 episodes of Rick and Morty, which were the 2 they were, and it was just kind of 2 first encounter, which is fine.
To be clear, I didn't seek these out. That's just what was on.
Yeah. Yes, as someone who likes that humor, I'm interested to play this game and see if it will carry it enough for me. Like it sounds like the gameplay isn't fun. And I'm wondering if I can be entertained enough by the dressings of it to keep me going, or if both of them are going to fall flat for me. Like I'm interested to see what it'll be.
Yeah, like the gameplay has like glimmers of like, ooh, the way you combine these abilities is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I wish the encounters encouraged this more, maybe. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and I think the last thing I'd be remiss to mention is that at least during my time playing, I ran into a ton of sort of like technical bugs. I believe there was a day 1 patch that supposedly ironed a bunch of stuff out, but I did play a good chunk of this game after day 1 and still was running into some pretty severe bugs. And yeah, it kind of contributed to this game kind of feeling like it needed more time in the oven, I had to restart fights because of characters getting stuck on geometry and it would halt my progress. Or one of the wildest bugs I've seen in a while that you really don't see in a lot of modern games as often is like, I went to grab a crystal to collect, and as soon as I touched it, my character just launched into the skybox. Like just took off and just wouldn't stop rising in the air. And it's just like, man, I haven't seen something like this in a while, short of like a Bethesda game. Wow. So like it was amusing, but you're like, man, okay, this needed more time, maybe a bit. So yeah, that contributed to my score too, because it was like it got to the point where it was getting too much to ignore,
Right, yeah, holding back, because you can hit bugs and it's like you just kind of bypass them and it's like, that didn't really affect my opinion. But if it's like caused you to restart often and things are breaking down, that's a problem. Yeah, I pulled up the Open Critic page for it, man. The reviews are all over the place. There's like there's sub 5 reviews, there's like 3s, there's a couple of don't play this, but then there's like a 9 and a 10 out of 10 from like different outlets. Like this is like one of the most divisive games I've seen in a while. Like you either like that comedy, I think, or you don't.
Well, who gave it the 10? What was that?
Let's see. It's not an outlet I've heard of. Eric Hodges at Try Hard Guides gave it a 10. Surprise hit, blowing away all my expectations. So they really liked it.
I think and again, I'm in the middle on Justin Roiland because I'm just not exposed to his stuff, so I had no expectations. But I think you'll know within like the first 15 minutes whether or not this game is for you, especially tonally, because it just kind of goes for it right off the jump. So yeah, but yeah, like you said, I expected that to a degree, but I don't think I totally expected the reception to be as passionate as it is in terms of bad reviews kind of being torn apart by maybe the fans of his work being like, oh, you don't think this is funny? Well, you're a bad person for that. And it's like,
I'm sorry people are reaching out to you with that, Marcus. That's frustrating.
Yeah, I can't believe it. It's weird.
I had that with my Evil Dead review earlier this year. It's like, it's okay. You can like it. That's fine.
Yeah. I'm just saying I didn't gel with it, and here's some words as to why. But, if you like it, I hope you like it. And I honestly, despite my problems with it, I think there's enough potential there that I would like to see a follow-up that addresses at least the gameplay complaints. I don't think, that's just his style of humor. I don't want him to change his, artistic stuff, you know what I mean? But just make it play better. Because then I think it would make the comedy more, I don't know if tolerable to words I want to use, but maybe I would just put up with it better, I guess, yeah. If it was like, oh, this is just a really fun shooter,
Do they need a talking slider for, frequency of talking?
They have it already.
Oh, they do? Okay.
At least just for the guns and some of the enemies, you can adjust the frequency to either they don't talk at all outside of story stuff, or sometimes, or just often, it defaults to all the time they're going to be chattering. I kept it, I messed with it, but I kept it all the way up because I didn't want to miss, bits, right? Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah, I mean, that is the game, right?
Exactly.
That's what it is them talking. It's nice that they have that slider, though.
I wonder if they'd weight certain phrases as okay, this is going to pass through the filter or not. Making sure that you get the important bits,
It's funny. I turned it to medium for a half hour or so just to kind of see how it would affect the frequency, and then the moment I jacked it up back to normal, the gun had a giant thing to say. It almost felt like, oh, were you just keeping this to yourself until I finally turned you back on? Basically, you just in no time he had something to say.
Well, Marcus, thank you for sharing your thoughts on High on Life and reviewing the game for us. I say we move on to the playlist. We've got a lot to talk about. Fortnite Chapter 4, I think we can start there with Charles, but we're also going to be talking about, like I said earlier, Callisto, Vampire Survivors. Kyle, first, I think you're going to drop out early, so is there anything you want to talk about that you've been playing? I know it's we're all kind of in this game of the year gauntlet.
Yeah, I it's funny. I was racking my brain to what have I been playing, and I've been playing a little. I've been keeping up with Pokemon, and I've been enjoying that. That's become my working out on the bike. I play for about half an hour a day or so. Yeah, High on Life. I started. I think I'm gonna keep going with it for a while. I'm gonna see if maybe it clicks with me. We'll see. I'm kind of going in with some pessimism, but we'll see. I did like Trover Saves the Universe. That game I think was cool. But yeah, nothing. I'm gonna be playing catch up here. I downloaded Immortality. I want to at least start Xenoblade, which is a fool's errand, I recognize. But yeah, nothing crazy. Nothing. I don't really have a lot to add,
Fair.
Which is why I'm gonna leave. Get out of here.
Go.
I do need to check out the new Fortnite stuff. I think they teased My Hero stuff coming soon, which is exciting
tomorrow.
For me. I like My Hero Academia a lot. Yeah, so I'm gonna go. But you guys are doing great, and you're gonna continue to do great, and I'm proud of you.
Thanks, Kyle.
We're proud of you too.
We'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
All right, well, we're gonna keep rolling. Goodbye,
Now that
Kyle.
loser's gone.
Yeah, come on, get out of here, dude. Didn't have any games to talk about. Like, does he not realize this is a gaming podcast?
He's a
Like,
professional gamer, and he didn't have any games to talk about.
come on, dude.
He gave MinMax all the content, clearly.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go and leave them a bad review. So let's talk about Fortnite, because I mean, I've been playing Fortnite since season 2, I think, of chapter 1. But I kind of like ebb and flow. But like the last, I would say, I mean, most of this year I have been pretty heavy on Fortnite. I think chapter 3 was great for introducing zero build. I think that saved the game for me. As somebody who enjoyed the building, I just feel I was actually really skeptical at first. I remember when zero build came out, I was like, this isn't like, we don't need to make, I felt like that was making all battle royales like homogenous. Like Fortnite has this really cool building mechanic, and it should double down on it. Fast forward almost a year later, all I play is zero build.
I've never played build mode.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, like
it's
just
just
in general?
Yeah, I didn't start until like July or something, and
Okay.
I was like, I'll start with no build because that seems easier, and then I just liked it so much. I'm like, I don't know why I would ever complicate this simple formula.
Did you guys know that I'm a Fortnite, I guess, boomer, in that I bought the game when it was in early access before it was a battle royale?
Wow.
Because I
Fortnite
actually
saved the world.
Yeah, back when it was about building forts and defending it from waves of zombies, I was like, that sounds kind of cool. And this game's been in development for like 1,800 years. I kind of want to see what this is going to be. And then, yeah, I have my umbrella that they gave us, whatever, founders, whatever they called us, to prove that I've been... basically, I'm saying I'm the reason for Fortnite's success. I'm the foundation that the game now rests on.
Do you have the Galaxy skin? Are you a Samsung Galaxy person?
I have no idea. I don't know all my skins.
It's like $1,000 skin. You could only get it from buying a Samsung Galaxy.
Oh wow!
Okay, in like 2017 or something.
Whoa.
2018.
I have
definitely
to Google
not.
this.
I have a Samsung Galaxy phone, but I don't think Fortnite knows that. As far as I know, it'd be scary if I did have that skin. Because I'm like, how did you guys know that I had this phone?
If you do, make sure to equip it, and you will just like. I would guess like you would get messages from people asking like where you got it and all that kind of stuff. It's a very rare skin. But anyways, so yeah, I've been playing Fortnite Chapter 4. It started 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, something like that. I did the event. The event was nothing to write home about. I actually thought it was like a bad event, but that doesn't really matter. That was a 45-minute thing. And then they shut the servers down and they brought it back online like 12 hours later, with the new season, the new chapter. And the theme for this chapter is sort of like medieval, but like medieval, like high tech medieval. I'm trying to find the words. It's like a mixture of like, okay, well, there's these like carriages and stuff, but there's like these gravity, platforms that are like towing them around. One of the big features is the hammer, which I really hated at first, and I still sometimes don't like it, but man, is it fun to use. I'm like, I think this breaks the game kind of in some ways that aren't great, but it's just so much fun that it's like, okay, I'm going to enjoy it while it's here.
Leads me to my death almost 100% of the time, but I'm always happy as I'm hurtling through the air.
Yeah. Charles, what are your thoughts overall on this season or this new chapter?
I love it. I have, like I said, I only started in July, so I've only known one Fortnite map and then the same map that was like slowly covered in Chrome. Yeah. So like having the whole thing revamped for me is really cool.
I don't think there's a single old location. They're all new locations, I believe. Which in the Chapter 3 map, it had a lot of the same ones from old maps in it. So this is the first time, I think, since Chapter 2, we've had a purely new map. So it's kind of refreshing, honestly.
But yeah, I love the aesthetic. I like really all the weapons. One thing you didn't get a chance to talk about yet is there's a new like augment system, which is like as the game goes on, you basically get like these randomized perks you can choose from. And so there's ones where like it'll just spawn in weapons for you, or maybe every time you get in a car it doesn't use fuel anymore. I had just the goofiest game yesterday where I got a grappling bow And then I got Party Time, which is an augment that lets you have balloons. So I was basically just shooting this grappling bow while also flying around on balloons. Just like the hammer, super fun, did fully lead to my demise, but I had no regrets about it.
I watched a friend last week. We were playing together, but we were all dead. And he was in the last circle with balloons, and people didn't realize he was like way above them. And he won the game on balloons.
Wow.
Like he dropped a whole, it was like a 1v3 and he won it. Wow. It's really funny.
I had something else I was going to say.
Well, can I ask?
Oh, it's also Winterfest right now.
Yeah.
Which is like their, holiday season thing. I think today is the second day.
Yeah, log in every day and you get a present. Yesterday I got a cool glider. Today I don't know what I'll get.
What's a cool glider? Does it look like
it's Christmas
snowflake
themed,
or
holiday themed?
Okay, like an ornament.
Yeah, it was a gift from Sergeant Winter himself.
Oh.
Yeah, they all have from names on the tags. Where I don't know if I'm supposed to know what they are.
Have they ever I don't know if this is their first winter event. I don't keep up with Fortnite that closely, but with everyone that's in this game, have they added just straight up Santa Claus yet?
That's what Sergeant Winter is. He's pretty much Santa Claus.
But I mean, he's not like actual. He's like Fortnite Santa, but not actual Santa.
Yeah, no, Santa himself. I mean, I have a glider that's just like Santa's sleigh, but I don't think it's named. I think it's called Sergeant Winter's sleigh. I think they like stay away from some real, even though they put Martin Luther King in this game.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Santa's like public domain. Like you can just put Santa in the game. And it almost seems weird, like, well, we don't want Santa with a gun. It's like, you've given more questionable characters a gun.
I think at this point, like they've been doing the winter thing for years now, and Sergeant Winters has become their mascot for the holidays. And so,
why is he a sergeant? Is he like an army person?
Yeah, he's an army Santa. He's like a buff Santa,
militarized Santa.
Yeah, pretty much. At one point, there is some sort of lore. He got introduced in like Chapter 1, Season 7, I think. And
okay, so he's been around.
Yeah, it was when like the map first became snowy for the first time, I think, if I'm recalling correctly. Yeah, that was like the first winter event. So they had like a big like ice Viking, like skeletal armies, and he was like part of the good guys fighting back.
Alex, I really like the way you'll name the seasons exactly like a film major talking about like old movies they know about. It's like, oh yeah, Citizen Kane, 1939. Anyways,
I'm a Fortnite archivist.
I was like, I'm the same way with wrestling, so I can't make fun of you.
Yeah. But I believe there was like a Lich King sort of situation going on, or Lich Queen rather, in Season 7, and that's when Sergeant Winters came in. It might have been Season 8, but I'm pretty positive Season 7. Yeah, but yeah, that was that's where their Santa was introduced, I believe, and it's just kind of become a tradition. This is the third year I think they've done Winterfest, and so every December you get like, I think it's like 14 days.
I think
or
it's
12
14 days. Yeah.
14 days of free stuff. Some of them are crappy, like little stickers that you can throw up with your character. Others are cool. It's like, oh, I got a new pickaxe, or I got a completely new character, stuff like that. But yeah, it's cool.
How do you guys think the game looks now with that big Unreal 5 update?
It's a beaut.
Yeah. I thought Chapter 2, they did a big visual upgrade in Chapter 2, Season 1, and I was like, man, it can't get better than this. And then they dropped the Chapter 4 update, and I was like, oh my God, this game looks so good. I think the lighting's a lot of fun. I get upset when I go and watch streamers because they always play at like low settings.
Yeah.
So that none of the foliage blocks who they're fighting.
Oh,
and I'm like, oh, you guys are like living in filth. You know? Like you've got this shiny new thing and you're still choosing to.
I love the lengths competitive players go to get as much of an edge as possible.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not a pro player, but like I feel like I'm pretty good, and I know enough about the game at this point where like I know I can shoot through that little tuft of grass. You know, it's probably like bushes and stuff that it's the most useful. But like I want to enjoy the game and I want it to look pretty, so I do that. But that's all right. That's why I'm not pro. But yeah, so far I really like Chapter 4. You're saying this has like become a ritual for you in a way, Charles?
Yeah, well, so a great example is yesterday we had plans to hang out with some of my friends. I got off work and my girlfriend comes home, and like the first words out of her mouth were, "We have to play Fortnite right now if we're gonna get the Winterfest things." And I was like, "Whoa, okay, all right, I'll put my computer down."
Like, can we eat dinner?
No, it's Fortnite for dinner. But yeah, it's a nice. I don't know. I almost have like a specific Fortnite tolerance of like I never play more than 4 or 5 games in a sitting, but like as a week builds out, it's like, oh, it's been 7 days. I played 40 matches of Fortnite. I did actually we did the got the PlayStation Wrapped stuff. Mm-hmm. Fortnite was my number one game played on PlayStation. I had 109 hours in it, and I started halfway through the year.
That's pretty good. Yeah, you're like my friend Eric Van Aken over at Destructoid and Axe the Blood God. He will jump in for like 4 or 5 games and he's good. Mm-hmm. And he knows his limits. Whereas I think I've played maybe 5 hours in a row at times. That's like the only game I can do that with is Fortnite and yeah. But that's not often. I promise. But yeah, I really like Chapter 4 so far. Some of my favorite areas, Brutal Bastion. I like that place a lot. I never go to the Citadel because I think his
Ageless.
His name's Gino, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The Ageless. He's very scary.
I did also watch a bunch of Fortnite lore recap videos, so when I did the end of Chapter 3 event, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to know what's going on.
I didn't know what was going on.
I don't really know if I do know, to be honest, but I finished the lore recap video and was like, all right, I understand, but if you asked me any detail, I'll be like, I couldn't tell you, man.
Do you know who Gino is?
Was Gino the founder of the why can't I remember what they're called? They're the people that made the loop. Gino's the one that made the first loop, I think.
Okay.
I think he's in charge of the Imagined Order. Is that what it's called?
Oh no.
I don't know. This is really I can't say wrong things on this podcast. I don't want to put my incompetence out there.
Fortnite is Kingdom Hearts now.
Oh boy.
It's getting there.
I mean Keyblade in Fortnite would be wonderful. Either as a mining
That's gotta
tool
happen
or
eventually, right?
Item.
No,
well, but then it's also
on the list.
You have to give Sora a gun to shoot people. That's the issue.
The issue is that Nomura is going to be like, well, how am I going to justify this in the lore? Remember, he made like a big stink about Sora being in Smash Brothers, and he was like, oh, I would have to explain it, and it's like, you really don't. Nobody. Okay.
No one cares as much as you.
The lore is enough of a cluster that we can let this one slide.
Yeah. That's funny. Do you have any favorite spots you like to go, Charles?
Oh,
it's hard to remember all the names.
Yeah, I don't. I find I have less attachment to like locations and more of like I love bows. I love just having a bow. I love getting on a good dirt bike.
Oh, dude, the dirt bike.
Trying to
fun.
do flips and then crash landing.
What do you think about the new sword gun?
I don't really use it. I don't hate it. I really like with the bow you can see the line of where the arrow's going, and I feel like an explosive bow and the Excalibur rifle are similar enough for me that I would just rather get the explosive bow. There's also a perk called Bow Specialist where you just generate arrows over time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is just
you never have to worry about it. Yeah. I don't really rock with the sword gun that much. I usually just do shotgun, SMG, and then I like the new Redline, the new first-person assault rifle, or the DMR, one of those, and then I'll do hammer for mobility. I don't smash a ton of people with the hammer. It's just a great way to get around the map.
Yeah.
I think the new Redline AR is really strong, so I just do that. And the new pistols and SMGs are so good now. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I love Fortnite. I'm glad it's I feel like it's kind of like the perk system feels like, oh, you can't take this away. Like it's
they always add stuff, and I'm like, it's amazing to me that this has not always been in the game of like dirt bikes and augments and I don't know. They added sliding in Chapter 3, right? Like that wasn't always in the game.
There's mantling now.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that.
There didn't used to be reboot vans. That wasn't added until Apex came out. Yeah, they do a good job, and I really like that game. It's one of my favorites of all time, easily. And as long as they keep supporting it, I will probably take breaks, but we'll keep showing up to play that game because it's so much fun. And now I'm scrolling on Twitter, and now I'm getting tweets about Fortnite now. It makes me want to go play. But Marcus, we got to get you in on it sometime. I know you're not a big multiplayer shooter person, but
I mean, I like playing Fortnite. I usually only play with friends and not on my own, but I played with you guys a few times. I don't know if with you specifically, Alex, but I have played with other coworkers a few nights.
Cooler people, yeah.
Haven't played with me, though.
Yeah, I won't know real Fortnite until I play with you, Alex.
I don't know if that's true, but I would like to play with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Marcus, you have been playing Callisto Protocol.
Yes.
How's that going? Best fighting game of 2022?
Yeah, but there is a lot of melee combat.
I've heard. I've seen combos.
I mean, yeah, now you joke, but really thinking about it.
I've seen people like essentially like run up a bad guy against like the wall and like just cage them there.
There is a lot of that in this game. Dead Space, I wouldn't say Dead Space like, but I feel like even that does a disservice to it. Like it's pretty much just a new Dead Space, with maybe a heavier focus on melee combat. I was looking forward to this game because I'm a huge Dead Space guy. I'm a huge horror guy. I actually helped out on the cover story we did earlier this year. And yeah, so far playing it, I'm kind of in line with Wesley's review. He checked that game out for us a few weeks ago, in that it's underwhelming in one, I not finding it really scary at all. It's very gross, but not scary, even from an atmospheric sense, surprisingly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I thought that would be, like the sense of dread would be stronger than it is, and I'm not sure why it is. I don't know if your character is like too capable, which is weird because this is very strict survival horror game, like limited inventory, limited everything, basically. Guns, you're, at least in my experience, you're not really relying on as much as your stun baton. But I think that once you get good with the stun baton and like the sort of like punch out style combat, and I'm not joking, like you have like a juke, like you go left, right, and that's like your primary form of defense, is that if someone comes at you, you can flick the stick, either go left or you can go right, and you can't do the same direction twice in a row. And once you kind of master that, you can kind of get through encounters relatively easily as long as you don't get swarmed. And like now that I'm at the point, 'cause I'm several hours in, like I gotta be at least halfway at this point, I kind of just run up to dudes and I'm like, yeah, come at me. And I've also upgraded my melee weapon a lot, actually, thanks to the wisdom of one Brad Shoemaker. I was listening to Nextlander, and he talked about he's like you should probably just pour in everything to melee because you really don't use guns that much. And I was like, yeah, that's true. I really don't use my gun that much, and you don't get ammo that often anyway. And the stun baton's pretty strong, so yeah. So I just upgraded my baton as often as I can. It's to the point where like, oh yeah, I can like, when they try to block me, I just break their arms so they still get hurt. And I can do this like power swing that does a lot of damage, and yeah, like I feel pretty confident going up to like a couple enemies and just meleeing them to death. And maybe that has kind of evaporated the sense of dread. It also doesn't help that the story barely exists. It's kind of like the there's a weird virus that broke out in this prison. Escape. And then it's like, okay, and then there's not really any meat that fills out that skeleton. It's just you constantly...
No emails? No voiceovers?
You do find voice messages, like there's some dead bodies and you pick up their audio thing, but it's very boilerplate. It's just more like a guy being like, I'm trapped in this room. Hopefully I'll get out soon. And then clearly they didn't, because you're looking at their corpse. Yeah, like literally some of them are 30 seconds long. It's just like, So I'm kind of waiting for like the plot to kick in, basically. It's very, but it has not. And yeah, so it's not grabbing me in that sense. but despite that, I'm having fun with it. Like, it's a very nice looking game. Like, fidelity wise, it's gorgeous. And, I do have some problems with the gameplay, mainly that it really needs a quick sort of like 180 turnaround because it's so easy to get surrounded and swarmed. And I'm kind of surprised that it doesn't have that, if you know what I mean, like the sort of like Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Like, boop. Yeah. Because like a lot of deaths feel pretty cheap. Because it's like, well, there's like 2-3 guys in here and one's behind me and I just can't turn around quick enough to deal with them because you move sort of slowly. And that's kind of a lame way to die. But then even then, this game is kind of hitting for me in the pure sort of video game junk food kind of way,
Yeah, that's fair.
Like it's just enjoyable enough, and I like these kind of games that it's enough of a breeze to get through. That I'm like, yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm just in the mood for horror, even if it's not that scary. But I kind of like this vibe. If anything, maybe this is a nice warm up for the Dead Space remake in a month, which is kind of weird to say because I was more looking forward more to this than the Dead Space remake, just because it was a new IP.
I never beat Dead Space. I did play. I rented it with my friend and for like one night, and I'm excited to play it because I feel like I barely scratched the surface on that game. So this will be like a great way to play it. Hopefully, yeah. I am braver now. Yeah.
Yeah, you can handle it. So yeah, but I think overall, like, it's definitely a disappointment. I was hoping there would be more from this game, but I'm still having some fun with it, I guess.
Okay, fair. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be amazing.
It doesn't have to be. And I also say this with the privilege of getting a code for this game and not paying $70 for it.
That's true. That's
so
true. Yeah.
That certainly helps. So
yeah. The important disclaimer for most of the games we talk about. Although the next one, I paid my own money for. Vampire Survivors. I bought it this morning.
All $5 or not
all
even
$5.
I think it's like $3. It was like $3 in early access.
It was $5 for me. It was $4.99. I booted up Vampire Survivors today for the first time, and really love it.
What are you playing it on first and foremost?
Steam.
Okay. I mean, there's no like real I was gonna say because I started on Steam, but I migrated to Xbox, and it's just very satisfying to see those achievements just pop off.
I've been getting Steam achievements, and I'm like, all right, yeah,
that's true.
I have it on mobile, which is an interesting. I downloaded it. Right. I've wanted it on like Switch or like ideally Steam Deck or something. I just have. I've never felt like it's a game that not that I didn't like it because I've like tried it on Xbox. It always feels weird to like sit down and be like, all right, I'm going to play Vampire Survivors. Because it's not like it's not like a God of War, where it like demands 100% of all of your sensory attention, but it's still like very good.
Don't tell our bosses, but I played it for 2.1 hours today, according to Steam.
To be fair, it's a very easy multitask game. It's like you literally just move a stick.
Mm-hmm.
And
then, yeah.
As long as you don't get hit by things.
I thought about putting it up while we were talking on the show. I was like, no, let me be a good host.
See, that would be rude. If you did it to us, it's rude.
Okay, that's fair. Other people's fine though.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. Good to know. I really like that game from the 2.5 hours I've played of it, or 2.1 hours I've played of it. I want to play more. I've unlocked a couple areas. The main grasslands area and then the library. And that game, I can see what people have been talking about. It's not a looker by any means, but when all of those sprites are on screen coming at you, I think on my previous run I just did, it was like a 25 minute run maybe.
Oh, nice.
And I killed like 15,000 enemies and got to like level 49. And I was like, okay, I get it. It's real good.
So good.
It's like the entire like power fantasy of every roguelike, but like condensed so intensely of like yeah.
It's like in its purest form almost, right?
Yeah.
That's a good pull. Yeah. That game's really good. I can't wait to play it after this podcast.
What's your who's your favorite character that you've used and what's your favorite power up?
Okay, I'm going to boot the game up only so that I can tell you what character I'm using, okay?
Okay.
So everybody starts off with the whip guy.
Right.
But now, okay. I was playing as Pasqualina. Pasqualina Bellpays. The third character. They have the what projectile is that?
The one that shoots the sort of bouncy diamond looking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's my favorite right now. I've had the most success with him.
What's their like ability thing?
Oh God!
It's the bouncy diamond thing.
I
mean, like there's also like a perk that goes with it, right? Of like someone gets like a bonus projectile or something like that.
Yeah. So this is the Rune Tracer. It passes through enemies, bounces around. It's best with speed and duration, and it evolves into the evolved Rune Tracer called No Future. Explodes when bouncing and in retaliation requires armor. So one thing I didn't realize was like you can upgrade your items, some items, based on conditions in the game, like and specifically your weapons. So I leveled up my base weapon by I guess leveling it up enough and also having armor unlocked.
One thing the game could do better is maybe steer players towards that stuff. So I think it's very easy to play like for several sessions before you go, wait, I can like upgrade items and like this whole unlock system here.
Sure, yeah.
I just learned about this from you just now. So
like this makes runs easier.
Like I just realized also I'm looking in the collection. Oh, my whip ability ignores speed buffs. And last game I was putting a lot of speed on it and wasn't doing anything. So stuff like that is good.
Like this whole other sort of like min-maxing layer of the game is important to keep in mind. But I don't know like what we could add to it. Like this game has been a phenomenon. It's been in early access for a while, when 1.0 a few months ago. But I think it's only now really starting to hit the office, at least in a wider sense, which makes me happy because I've enjoyed it for some time.
I've had a lot of friends like play it this year, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get to it eventually. It's just, I'll do it before the end of the year. And I did it today. So, yeah, I think my weekend's going to be sorted with that and some other games I got to play. But, really, I also want to try it out on mobile. Do you find that it's pretty easy to control, Charles, on mobile?
So I have it on mobile just because that's how my attention span works. Almost certainly better somewhere else.
Elsewhere? Okay.
There's not like buttons. I also have like a backbone controller, but it's always vertical, so I can't use that. It's just as wherever you put your finger on the screen, that's where the joystick spawns, and so you just have to like move it around from there. I did turn on like you can visualize the joystick, which I think made it way easier because I can't always remember the point at which my finger started. But it's free, so that's something. I mean, it's like $5, so you should probably just buy it anyways. But the difference is it has ads. So like if you die, you can watch an ad and get revived. But I'm probably gonna buy it and play it on Steam Deck. I know that the DLC came out today.
I didn't even realize that until today. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it free DLC? I don't remember.
No, but it's like $2. Like the pack with the DLC today is like $5.18 or something like that. Something ridiculous.
I'm gonna buy that.
Maybe that's what I bought then. If it was like a bundle on Steam or something.
Yeah. I have kind of a fun hypothetical. This is maybe off track, but if you could add a character from a different video game as a survivor in Vampire Survivors, who do you think would do well?
Kratos. He's got those chains. He could just whip them around him and just run into mobs of enemies.
This is maybe the boring answer, but Doom guy could be good in this scenario.
I think Kratos is the correct answer, Marcus. I was posing it as like a fun hypothetical where we could just like throw all this stuff in. You said Kratos immediately. I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. He would just spin his little blades around.
A character from Diablo.
Also very good.
Yeah, I like how we even propose like an actual Castlevania character because this game is very much inspired by Castlevania.
Oh, actually, I was incorrect about all of those. Actually, now I have two answers. My cop-out answer is Kirby. He can just eat everyone. Just be a fun day for Kirby. My other answer, Wario, because he always smells like garlic. He's got that permanent garlic buff on him.
What about Bo Jackson from Tecmo Bowl? Because no one would be able to touch him because he'd just be dodging everyone.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, are you guys too young for the Bo?
Too young?
Me, yes, certainly.
If you ever played Tecmo Bowl back in the day, Bo Jackson was like an OP character because he was so fast that he was kind of hard to catch. So he was like
Maybe I
he
am
was just
too young.
he was just a broken player in that game. Like, you couldn't catch Bo Jackson for some reason. They just made him too good. So if you put him in Vampire Survivors and he's just like juking past those mobs with whatever weapon he has, he would break the game probably.
I like the Kirby idea because then it would turn into that game. Do you remember the game The Maw?
Yeah.
I don't really.
That's a cut. That's a cut.
Yeah. I used to play. I got the 200 out of 200 Xbox achievement on that one. Back when indie games had like fewer achievement points, weirdly. But
what about Zagreus from Hades?
Mm-hmm. He'd be good. As long as he gets boons, I guess. That's a pretty important Zagreus thing, is he gets help from the gods, because if he's just on his own, I don't know how far he'd get.
Actually, that would work really well, because instead of just picking up treasure chests, he would just get like boons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do like a crossover DLC pack where they add new items that are just the boons from Hades.
That would be really cool.
What about Sergeant Winters from Fortnite?
Absolutely. He just constantly spawns treasure chests.
I mean, he fought like the Lich Queen lady and her army of undead.
True. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think he would fit well. Cool. Rounding out the show, have either of you played Immortality?
Yes.
Yes, we've both finished it.
Yes.
You
I
both
played it
finished
because Marcus talked about it on the GI show, and I was like, well, I gotta do this.
Okay. I have played that game and seen its secrets.
Have you hit credits?
No, I haven't. I am working towards it. But wow, I was not expecting that. My first, no spoilers, but like I'll give you a reference point for the first, one of the first clips I examined was the conference table in the first movie.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And I was like, what?
Very weird first one to get there.
That was my first one to get.
You immediately close the door and all the windows. And...
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I was like, did I break the game?
Yeah.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. So yeah. I was very intrigued and confused. And then, man, it's so funny. You can't really talk about this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like you don't want to give away the thing.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of the main hook.
There's some really funny objects in this game you can cross-examine.
It's wild how many you can interact with too,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like
so, like for instance, for people listening, Immortality, like you're putting together this old film project, and we've talked about it on the show before. The premise is that like this actress disappeared, and you're going and watching her old, archival footage, and you can like cross match footage. So like if you zoom in on a cup in one scene, it might spawn a new clip for you to find and go through where that cup was also in it, or like something similar to the cup in this other scene. Or like if somebody's smiling in the footage, you can cross reference that and you'll unlock another clip where like somebody is smiling. It's very confusing at first. Like there's not really, it's not confusing, but there's like, you don't really know what you're doing at first and why you're doing it, but just keep going and you'll soon find out why. And then lastly, the second one, y'all, that I did was, what's the first movie called? Ambrosia?
Yeah. Ambrosio, I think.
Ambrosio. You know the scene on the floor where one character's laying on the floor and the other's kneeling above them?
I'm thinking of a scene with that. I don't know if I'm thinking of the same one you are.
I don't actually know this one.
Is it in the church?
I'm gonna text you guys.
Okay.
The one I'm thinking of is in a church.
Yes. Oh no, different one. Before that.
I was gonna say, just as we were trying to describe the game, a thing I figured out very late in the game is from the main menu. There's a little bar that just says like about this project. And I had always been like, oh, I'm just going to go in and play the game. I want to go in blind or whatever. But if you click about this project, it gives you a shocking amount of context to things going on where like it just tells you straight up what happens to some of the characters. And I didn't realize that it was like, oh, you can just click on this and know so much more context than you thought it was. but I mean, I also played the whole game without knowing that. So if you want that extra context, that's like a thing. If you're
it goes over the
lost,
controls
but,
too.
Yeah.
I just saw the picture you sent, Alex, and
Slack.
Like, I did get this, but I forgot about it. And
I don't think I got
I
this.
forgot how startling this was, and now I'm upset that it lives on my computer now. Because I was like, I legit was like, oh, that's right. Oh.
I discovered that at about 1 a.m. and quickly got like chills down my spine.
I was going to ask you, because I know you were asking when I talked about this a few weeks ago if the game was scary, or if it was a horror game, and we were trying to like explain it without going into it. And it's like, do you think that it's actually scary?
Certain moments, yes, it is very scary, and like I'm filled with dread. And then other moments, I'm like, this is cake, you know?
Right.
Like not scary at all.
Yeah, because it's not a horror game. I don't.
No.
Like, technically, if anyone's wondering, like, it's not explicitly trying to be a horror game.
I mean, there are definitely moments I think it is trying. In the screenshot I just sent you, there's no way that was not meant to be a horror game. Because the way, yeah, it's just, God, people got to play this game, man.
Yeah, I wish we had thumbnails for the podcast, because I'd be like, we should just make that the thumbnail.
Oh
scare
man,
people.
I would never listen to this podcast if that's what the thumbnail was,
dude. Yeah, so I'm playing Immortality. I've made it through all of Ambrosio. I believe now I'm on Minsky.
Are you purposely focusing on one movie as best you can?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've unlocked a lot of the other movies.
Yeah,
like,
you kind of can't help it.
I've actually seen one of the ending clips, apparently. I was playing, and Jesse and Eric were watching me. They're like, yeah, I didn't unlock that thing till like an hour before I beat the game or less.
Can I offer a recommendation that I actually was given pretty late, where I was kind of like on the cusp of like, I think I know what's happening here, but I'm waiting for like the breakthrough. And then Blake, I was talking to Blake about the game. He loves this game, and he tipped me off. Now that you know what you're supposed to be doing, if you haven't already, you should go back and watch that very first clip that they give you, like the talk show.
Oh yeah, I've watched that.
You've seen everything that has to offer?
I think so. Yeah, I've seen what you're talking about.
Okay, I don't want to go into too much detail, but
maybe I'll rewatch it.
Because I thought I did, but I think once you go down the rabbit hole of stuff, you forget which things you've sort of like looked at and didn't. Yeah, that was one. That was kind of like a game changer.
I mean, I have context for who the characters are, I think.
Okay.
That are at play. And I did watch that clip, and I know a lot more about that character. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's like one of the most explicit sort of like, here's what's kind of going on here.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. I know that's going on. Yeah. But there's still like a lot of other unresolved threads.
Okay.
Well, now I got to go back. Maybe
it's interesting, like, as we're talking about like which things we have and haven't seen, because I started playing the game, told my girlfriend about it. I was like, this is so crazy. She started playing it, and I was like, I'll just watch her start to play it, and was surprised by like her. And I had played for like maybe 4 hours straight. I was like so into it, and then she started playing, and I hadn't seen like 80% of the scenes that she was watching. Like I was very surprised by the amount that the content differs, the order you get it from playthrough to playthrough. Of, I can't imagine, the programming, or like they must have literally mapped out all the scenes at some point when they were like planning this game. But just surprised at the amount of like individuality of it. Of Alex, you just showed us that the image you were talking about. I rolled credits on the game. I don't think I saw that one. So,
which is why you were able to sleep that night.
I should boot the game up and show you that scene.
Because this isn't enough.
I mean this genuinely. You really don't have to.
Right. But if you insist, I will.
Yeah. It's a wild game. If you've played Sam Barlow's other stuff like Her Story and Telling Lies, and you like that, then you'll definitely be into
I have a question. I've never played those other games. Is Telling Lies like this as well?
It is. Telling Lies I haven't played, but I adore Her Story. Like that was in my top 10 in 2015, I believe, when it came out.
Is that similar? Like there is another mechanic at play?
It's a lot more straightforward, but it's the same idea, because in that game you're watching it's only one character, and it's a woman being interviewed by the police because they suspect that she killed her husband, I believe.
Okay.
And so you're just watching all these videos of her testimony and trying to figure out if she really did it or not. And the way you find more clips is that because the idea is that I think you're a cop and you're using the police database to go through.
Do you have to make a
footage.
choice at the end of it?
No, it's kind of open-ended. You kind of walk away when you think you know the answer. So it's like your own personal satisfaction. Like you can hit points, I believe, that kind of explicitly say yay or nay. But you can also just get enough evidence where you're like, no, I think I know. I don't have to keep. Because the way you find other clips is that you have a search engine and you're just typing in words that she says. Like, oh, she mentioned this guy's name. I'm going to type his name in and see what clips come up. And then kind of go from there. But I adored that game because it made me feel like a detective where I had like pen and paper, like a flow chart, and I was writing down words. I was like, oh, she mentioned this location. Okay, I'm going to try that and then draw a line to see if it connects to this person that she mentioned before and see like if I can, form the timeline of events in my head. But if you in general just get a thrill out of the sort of detective element that these games have, that I think Her Story would be right up your alley.
Awesome.
And it's not scary.
Okay. Okay.
So that helps.
Looking it up, also, we haven't mentioned it, but Immortality is on Game Pass. Telling Lies is also on Game Pass. Her Story is not currently, but still, widely beloved.
Cool. Well, my computer's starting to freak out, actually. So I think it's time to wrap the show up. I've got all sorts of things popping up on my screen for some reason. Not sure why. But before I lose I know the game is coming to life. Before I lose my audio file, let's go ahead and wrap up. If you enjoyed this episode of the Game Informer Show, please go and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Let us know what you think about the show. You can, of course, follow the crew here on Twitter. Kyle left earlier, but you can follow him at Kyle M. Hilliard. You can follow Charles at ChuckDuck365. You can follow Marcus at MarcusStewart7, and you can follow me at It's Van Aken. Come talk to us about games, about whatever. I want more people to talk with about Immortality, so hit me up. Let me know what you think. Be conscious of spoilers though on the timeline.
Yeah, we need to hop on a group call, honestly, and just really.
I need to finish it first though.
Yes, do that first.
Yeah, but yeah. So this has been the Game Informer Show. Holidays are coming up. We're going to be pre-recording some episodes. So go in the Discord, leave some comments in the Game Informer Show channel if you want us to answer it on the show, or you can email us podcast@gameinformer.com. I'm sure we'll be relying on those in the coming episodes since we are filming ahead of time for the holidays. And if I don't get to say it, have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holiday, and Happy New Year. Whatever you're celebrating this December, hope you enjoy it. Hope it's relaxing, and you get some time with family or just time with yourself to relax. So,
yeah, play a bunch of games.
Yeah, play a bunch of games. And to be clear, we will have episodes coming up, but it's the busy season. I might have Kyle guest host again. We'll see. Got a lot going on as the video guy. I know. I don't know if I can because then there'll be another Limp Bizkit.
The Limp Bizkit holiday special.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to do that to listeners or not.
I really can't. I can't express the chaos and joy I felt when Kyle was like, "Yeah, we're just gonna let Blake off his leash," and then just seeing what happened in the following 7 minutes, I was so enthralled.
That was like Naruto, like him letting the nine-tailed fox out the cage.
Yeah. That's really fun. The seal has been unlocked.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Alrighty, y'all. We will talk to you next episode. Happy holidays. Stay safe. We'll see you soon. Bye.